And this leads us to blood money. And I'm going to show you. Blood money. What's it say right next to it? Oh my god, it says restitution. Why the fuck would blood money have restitution right next to it? Why doesn't blood money have reparations right next to it? Repair what you've done. You can't repair a dead man. Restitute. Different. Let's see what the definition for restitute is. It's a verb, to make restitution. It's from French Anglo. It just says to back to restitution. The act of returning something that was stolen to its owner. That's the Merriam-Webster definition. The act of returning something that was stolen from its owner. Now, blood money. Blood money, also called blood wit. W-I-T. One word. Blood wit. Is money or some sort of compensation paid by an offender, usually a murderer, or his or her family group, to the family or kin group of the victim. Why is anybody interested in reparations when restitution and these different forms of restitution make so much more logical sense based on the act that we're chasing? We're chasing rape, murder, and theft. How can we repair something when these people aren't gonna leave? We need to leave. We need to cut ties. So we need wealth to start something new amongst ourselves. And this is the point of forming a council. Now, it says particular examples and uses. Blood money is colloquially, the reward for bringing a criminal to justice. A common meaning in other contexts for blood, for the money penalty paid by a murderer to the kinfolk of the victim. These fines completely protect the offender or the kinsfolk thereof from vengeance of injury of family. I kill your son. You go, you killed my son. I want restitution, blood money. I pay you. Blood money is usually 1,050,000. It's 1,050,000. Okay? It's not 1.5 million. It's 1,050,000. Right? So and I say that number because I've seen 2 different TV shows in the last 10 years that have talked about this term and used those exact numbers on 2 different programs. And they know a lot more about the world than I know, because I'm just here in lowly old Ohio. Okay, so it says these fines completely protect. So I kill your son. You're mad. but I can pay restitution to you. So when I pay this restitution, that means that your brother, the boy's uncle, cannot come and try to seek vengeance. That means your wife, she disagrees with the payment, she cannot come and kill me, or my family is going, that a blood money stops the escalation of violence between two families or two races. Now, system was common among Germanic peoples before the introduction of Christianity, and scales of payments graduated according to the heinousness of the crime, was fixed by laws which further settled who could exact the blood money and who were entitled to share it. Homicide was not the only crime thus expiable. Blood money could be exacted for all crimes of violence. Some acts, such as killing someone in a church or while asleep, or within the precincts of royal palace, were botless, and the death penalty was inflicted. Such a criminal was outlawed and could be killed on sight. So if you killed someone in a church, or if you killed someone while asleep, I would assume that meant while they were asleep, not while you were asleep, or within the precincts of a royal palace. Those are called botless. B-O-T-L-E-S-S. So those places of murder, you could not enact. The penalty was death. You couldn't enact blood money. You could not have the murderer pay you that the murderer stay alive. They must be killed if those things happen. Okay, it says in Islam, that in Islamic terms, qisas can in some cases result in blood money being paid out to the family of victims. The amount varies from country to country, from case to case. In Japan, the Japanese culture, it is common to give blood money or mimayakin to the victim's family. Ooh, this is interesting. It's mimai, M-I-M-A-I, and then kin, but it's all one word, mimayakin. But you can see the word kin in there, so it's weird, right? Kinfolk, yeah, it's weird. Language. All language connected, huh? The amount varies from country to country. It says, okay, excuse me. Such was the case with Lucy Blackman's father, who accepted 450,000 Lu as blood money for the murder of his daughter. Alright, so some dude's daughter went to Japan. Shit got out of hand. She ended up dead, and he accepted blood money for her murder. So the guy didn't go to jail or anything. In Korea, under the Korean legal system, it is common for those accused of serious crimes such as rape to offer blood money. So this is, if you're accused, it's common for them to offer blood money. It's called hap-uigian to the victim, and if accepted, then the perpetrator is usually excused further punishment. It is often brokered by the police. So in Korea, the police broker these deals. Listen, motherfucker, she said you raped her. you better offer her some money so she shuts up, or we're going to kick your ass. So, I mean, that's the best thing I can think of how that shit's gonna play out, you know. I mean, they broker the deal. Despite being common practice, its use in high-profile cases does sometimes result in protests. Now, in Somalia, so this is done all over the world. Blood money. Blood money in Somalia, people's customary law, which they call SEER, X-E-E-R, a polycentric legal system developed indigenously. Blood money is issued in the event of libel, theft, physical harm, rape, death, and well as supply assistance to relatives of the injured party. As well as to supply assistance to the relatives of the injured party. So not only do they give them money, but they go and help them do shit, you know. Grocery shop, build, you know. These people are dealing with tribal natures. This is a legal system developed by indigenous people. So, like when we're talking about Floyd Pye's video where he shows you they were banging the Sasquatch, and when it produced a human-looking thing, they were okay with it because they always needed an extra pair of hands in the village because, you know, a village is borderline indigenous. You know, they got some things that eventually grew into cities, and they got some things that, you know, came from their indigenous cultures. So, you know, in when you get married, you're supposed to pay a dowry. You're paying the father because he's losing a pair of hands. With that money, he can buy a servant, or he can afford to have another baby. You know, so you know, these things are used all over the world, and they're used. Blood money is used all over the world because tribes are all over the world. You know, like, all right. So it says other meanings or uses. All right. So here's Christianity. In Christianity, in the Christian Bible, the term used to refer to 30 pieces of silver Judas received in exchange for revealing the identity of Christ to the forces sent by the Pharisee or the Sanhedrin. See, I thought the Sanhedrin was a book. Or I thought the Sanhedrin was a group of Pharisees. Like, this shit is so stupid. After the crucifixion, Judas returns the payment. Ah, man. It almost spoils it. Almost. But it just doesn't. It says in shipping. Okay, so other meanings or uses, and it's either in Christianity or in shipping. Shanghaiing is the practice of forced conscription of sailors, boarding masters, whose job it was to find crews for ships, were paid by the body and thus had a strong incentive to place as many seamen on a ship as possible. This pay was called blood money. Alright. So there's other things. It says also see Anglo-Saxon law, also see blood feud, also see blood law, also see blood libel. Oh wow. All wrongful death, Weregild, W-E-R-E-G-I-L-D. That actually comes up here. It says the Germanic peoples before the introduction of Christianity dealt with Weregild. There's protection money, there's religious minority, and that might be something we might be interested in. Leibzol, Leibzol. Again, if you don't have this up on screen and you're just watching me read, you just you're kind of wasting the time. I've told you many times, when you read these things, it changes you. It burns it into your memory. You need to read, and then you need to sleep, and then you wake up and you've picked up new things. And look, I can't help it that you grew up in an age where they purposely put you in shitty schools. They did the same thing to me. They fed you bad lunches so that, your body worked at its poorest condition. They've known about nutrition for a long time. I can't help it. They did the same thing to me. I just wanted something more. He gave me an opportunity. All I did is just use the opportunity to the fullest. You can hear me because he gave me an opportunity. If you think he's not listening to you, you're wrong. He's giving you the same opportunity he's giving me. The same opportunity he's giving to everyone. He called everyone. And everyone's saying no. Now we have a plan. We have an agenda. And we have a goal. I sit right now in a room that is empty. The room doesn't have to fill. The only thing that has to fill is your heart. And that's all. You've got to care about your people enough to want to do something. There aren't many choices about what to do. Assemble yourselves and set yourselves towards Zion. You are Zion. So it doesn't mean assemble yourselves and set yourselves towards yourselves. It means assemble yourselves and set yourselves towards the place Zion. And it doesn't say Mount Zion, so that means it's Zion, the national park. Yes, you are the people of Zion, but it doesn't say Zion, assemble yourselves and set yourselves towards yourself. It doesn't. You've got to want to rise. I can't help that there are people that have stronger wills than you. I cannot help that the people with stronger wills than you are saying to you negative things. I can't help that. Those are your own individual tests. That's what it is. You're going to see this world crumble. And you're going to want to be out in the desert. You're going to be wanting to be there. I can't help that. One person in this world that can help that. It's yourself. You don't have to move to the desert. Move to one of those cities around the desert and gradually make your way in. Go to Facebook. communicate with people in your area, or people that are out west already. There's a lot of options, and many people are choosing to do nothing except for watch the porno they watched last week and the week before. Watch the series, the sports. They just keep choosing to be entertained. How much stimulation is enough? How much is enough? On and nothing has changed. The only thing that's changing is the earth. The promises that were said that before the end comes, these things will happen. You've got war and rumors of war. You've got creatures coming out of their haunts. You got animal die-offs. That's your food. I'll tell you one of the best prophecies ever. The musicians won't be playing anymore. There ain't that many bands anymore. Most music is now electronic. And that's how you know. That's how you know. Me and my wife driving down the road. Driving down the road. One out of every 5 songs didn't have this beat. Here, let me reword that. 4 out of 5 songs had. That's the beat to the song. Five songs play in a row. 4, not 3. Not 3, 4. 4 of them have a beat that goes. That's the change, the pace in your mind. Why, if people get sued for music, do all these fucking songs have the same robotic constant? They say you play the wrong music to the right person and you can change how they view things. They're giving you a robotic constant as they keep giving you all these robots. I'll tell you what, let me see the phone real quick. I might be doing a video about this pretty soon. Tell you what, my wife sent me this months ago. This sent me about two months ago. And I've been holding on to this for a while. You see what that says, right? Implant could bring. Right, I'm going to read this to you. Implant could bring wireless exoskeleton control to paralyzed people. Oh, isn't that sweet? People that can't move can now flap a piece of metal from across the room. Right? So they had no way of getting this technology to work. Nobody that can control their fucking arms and legs would say, yeah, you can stick that fucking needle in my brain to see if I can make that piece of metal over there fucking wiggle. So they went to paraplegic people with a fucking sob story. If one day you want to get out of that fucking bed and not be a vegetable, then let us plug these needles in your head. And somebody agreed. And they put that person in a room with other people that agreed. And they plugged and prodded those people. And then one person in that group got that little piece of metal to fucking wiggle. And they don't need anybody else in that group except for that one. And they recorded his brain path waves when he activated those parts of his cerebral cortex. How the fuck do I even know these words? It says minimal invasive. How can you have minimal and invasive in the same fucking sentence? I raped her. I minimally invaded her. I kind of went in. And that sounds perverted, but I want you to understand what this really motherfucking says, right? Minimal invasion. Minimal invasion procedure could have implications for a wide range of neurological disorders. What's the first thing they said? Implant could bring wireless exoskeleton control to paralyzed people. So that means the military cannot use the high-grade equipment right now unless they plug the fucking machines into their head. They can use the low-budget machine. It still costs us millions to make. They can use the cheap ones because they don't weigh too much. But to use the heavy-duty exogear, they gotta plug into their brain. And they tested on paraplegics. This is what you want to stay around. You want people that already lost their ability to function. You want to give them super fucking suits. But they're just the test dummies. And why would they put guns on something like that? Why wouldn't they train somebody first? A brain implant the size of a paperclip might one day help paralyzed people regain the ability to use arms and legs via a wireless connection. We plugged a sensor in your fucking brain. Now you can think and make that metal move, huh? It's not the first technology to allow paralyzed people to operate mechanical limbs with the signal from their brain, but it has the potential to revolutionize the field because of its minimal invasive and total wireless. Oh, it's totally wireless. Paralyzed man walks again using brain link computer. These are links. Mind-controlled exoskeleton kicks off World Cup. Did you know about that one? See, the only thing we're up to fucking date on is where Moses is. Everything else, we're months behind, if not years already. They found Egyptian shit in the Grand Canyon in Arizona in fucking 1909. It's 100 years later. It's over 100 years later. We're just now starting to talk about it. Come on, you're minimized just like I am. You're pushed aside, marginalized. Why? So they can make fucking robot kung fu people to fuck with you, right? That's what they did in what? Mortal Kombat? Thought-controlled robotic arm moves with skill and speed. Oh, none of that. None of that. Yeah. It's made possible because of the matchstick-sized implant called a stentrod. Stentrode. Like a sten, almost like a stem cell. Trode, electrode. Stentrode. Crafted from nitinol an alloy that is commonly used in brazier underwires and eyeglass frames, according to a study published by the Journal of Nature Biotech. Sorry, Nature Biotechnology, whatever. It's really a new method for getting brain data out of the brain without performing brain surgery. Thomas Oakley, a neurologist at the University of Melbourne who designed the device, told CBC News. Part of the reason that brain-machine interfaces have not been successful to this point is because they get rejected by the body. The reason they get rejected is because they all require direct implantation into the brain. And to do that, you have to take off the skull. You have to perform a craniotomy. And then they have this awesome little picture right here of this woman in an exoskeleton, right? Exo, outside, right? So now she is a walking lobster. A stem rod will transmit signals from a paralyzed person's brain to an exoskeleton like this one day. It's Rex Bionics. The new technology developed by a team of scientists at the University of Melbourne's Medical Science, Veterinary Science and Engineering faculties. Why is veterinary? Because they experimented on animals first, right? Well, let's make sure the mouse's brain doesn't explode from thinking too much that it can move the metal. Says it's implanted in a blood vessel next to the motor cortex, the region of the cerebral cortex involved in the planning, control, and execution of voluntary movements. You know what trips me out? When I read, this is how I usually read. I've never had a problem reading. Now all of a sudden I read the Bible and I'm all like, and everything related to that. I mean, reading science flows like I'm a damn scientist. Anyway, execution of voluntary movements. The stentorod eliminates the need for complex surgery. The researchers were inspired by advancements in cardiac medicine that allows pacemakers to be inserted via blood vessels rather than through the open heart surgery. We had the same idea. You go through the arteries or through the blood vessel up into the brain, choose the part of the brain that you want, and then deposit the electrodes inside the blood vessels right next to the brain, but never actually into the brain. Once the implant safely nestled near the motor cortex, it will theoretically, these fucking morons, they know damn well they have to jam it into the motor cortex so it gets the same root growth that anything else would, like your arm or your leg. These guys are old players. If it's in the artery, you can't move your arteries, and they know it. They're toying with them. That's why I just said it's theoretical. In theory, it should be. No. In theory, you can't grow grass without soil. So you need to be rooted into the motor cortex, and they fucking know it, dude. They're gonna pop these people's skulls off, and they know it. That's why they told you. You know, like, it's not gonna be good through the artery, because once you break the artery then needs to be repaired. And you know, there's no way to do that. Fucking, you're taking something like a matchstick, and you've got to go through the artery. It's too long. It doesn't curve. And they're gonna fucking. This is a failure. What's written is a failure. They know better than this. I'm not even in the medical field, and I know fucking better than this. So it says theoretically. Okay, so once the implant is safely nestled into the motor cortex, near the motor cortex, it will be will be theoretically be able to pick up signals from the brain and transmit them to an exoskeleton, allowing the patient to move their limbs with the power of their own thoughts. And see, they didn't. Okay, so you see, like, they got a little diagram right here. Now pay attention to the diagram. You see how there's two parts of this. One goes down into your body to your spine. Notice where that's hanging. See? Let me blow that up. See that little part that's supposed to be back there by your spine? Look, they say, oh, up here in your head is where the needle goes, right? And they show you at the top of the head. Right, now remember in Star Wars they had that guy that had those damn ear things and he had something on the top of his bald head. That's the fucking needle, right? But look how the needle goes into your spine. Now listen, this is bullshit. Check this out. I was watching TLC one day, right? And on TLC they had this woman and she profusely sweats. Okay? And they said that they would do a surgery to correct her from having sweaty palm complex. So they said, to do the surgery, we're gonna go into your back. And she goes, wait, what? And like I was watching, I go, wait, what? You're gonna go into her back to correct the glands that are in her palms? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, huh. So I start watching. I'm watching this dumbass program for an hour. And they go into surgery. They got her face down on the table. They cut into her back. And they send this, you've seen an electrode thing, electrode, and where it sends a shock, and you can get, you shock your hair, and you take the follicle, and turn the follicle off so it doesn't grow. You can shock it again, turn the follicle back on so it starts to grow or whatever. Yeah, but this is what they did in her back. So they knew that, your car, you got a couple of important things in your car. You got the key that turns the engine, that starts the cylinders and everything like that. But down underneath over here by the glove box, you got the brains of the car. And you need those little few. Need wealth to start something new amongst ourselves. And this is the point of forming a council. Now, it says particular examples and uses. Blood money is colloquially, the reward for bringing a criminal to justice. A common meaning in other contexts for the money penalty paid by a murderer to the kinfolk of the victim. These fines completely protect the offender or the kinsfolk thereof from vengeance of injury of family. I kill your son. You go, kill my son. Family or kin group of the victim. Why is anybody interested in reparations when restitution and these different forms of restitution make so much more logical sense based on the act that we're chasing? We're chasing rape, murder, and theft. How can we repair something when these people aren't gonna leave? We need to leave. We need to cut ties. So and this leads us to blood money. And I'm going to show you blood money. What's it say right next to it? Oh my God, it says restitution. Why the fuck would blood money have restitution right next to it? Why doesn't blood money have reparations right next to it? Repair what you've done. You can't repair a dead man. Restitute. Different. Let's see what the definition for restitute is. The act of returning something that was stolen to its owner. That's the Merriam-Webster definition. The act of returning something that was stolen from its owner. Now, blood money. Blood money, also called blood wit. W-I-T. One word. Blood wit. Is money or some sort of compensation paid by an offender, usually a murderer, or his or her family group to the family. It's a verb, to make restitution. It's from French Anglo. It just says to back to restitution.